Okay, so a while ago I did a similar video in a similar vein, which was what if Garra fought Sasuke in the Sasuke Retrieval Arc at the Final Valley? And I took a couple days to decide who might also be a good opponent for this same Sasuke, and I thought of Neji Hyuga. And I can already see in the comments,
horse!
Oh, pump the hate brakes, Fox and friends.
This is
Yell, scream, let the fur fly, give the neighbors something to talk about!
but just hear me out and humor me because I think that is actually an interesting case to be made here. But real quick, if you haven't yet, please hit the like button and hit that subscribe button and click the bell for more notifications. I really appreciate the support y'all have given and hope that I can bring y'all more exciting content in the future. So click the bell for more notifications. With all the way, let's go get started. So in context, we're talking about what if Neji was the one who caught up to Sasuke during the rescue arc instead of Naruto. And just to get semantics out of the way, for right now, we won't be going over what happens to Naruto in this role reversal. We're just going to focus on Sasuke and Neji for right now. But don't worry, for those of you who are wanting to know my opinions on Chunin Exams, Sasuke versus Chunin Exams Neji, and the role reversal for Naruto, I will discuss that later in the video. So just stick around to the end of the video if you want to know about my opinions on that. But for right now, we're just going to stick with Neji versus Sasuke at the Final Valley. Keep in mind that, and this is going to be important for going forward in this video, is that we're going to do this chronologically. And since that is the case, the Sasuke that Neji will be going up against is the Sasuke that broke out of the curse mark coffin in the Naruto and Kidomaru fight. Reason for that being a key aspect and to remember is that this Sasuke, while being amped a bit in terms of strength, will somewhat more or less be the same Sasuke that Naruto fought on the hospital rooftop. Now, before anyone gets triggered, I said somewhat. Obviously, Sasuke is shown to have gotten physically stronger since his time in the curse mark coffin, but I don't really know if anything else has been amped aside from his physical strength, such as speed, durability, and precog. While it's totally reasonable to assume that all of his physical stats were also amped, especially his durability, as he sort of mocks Naruto as he punches him and Sasuke doesn't even seem hurt or worried in the slightest, the stat that's being highlighted the most here is Sasuke's physical strength. However, the main point of me bringing this whole thing up in chronological case is because that this Sasuke that was awoken from the curse mark coffin and was actively running away from Naruto is the same Sasuke that hadn't awoken his third Tomoe Sharingan yet. And it's likely that he will not have awakened it in this fight, as the main reason he even awoke the third Tomoe in the first place was his relationship/rivalry with Naruto. More specifically, his decision to fully abandon Naruto and the rest of the Leaf. As the Sharingan are called the eyes that reflect the heart, the third Tomoe could have awakened as a result of Sasuke's final decision to fully break his bond with Naruto, which would make sense as each stage of the Sharingan is unlocked through trauma and heightened emotions. Now, to be fair, this may not be 100% true because Sasuke does ask himself if it's the influence of the curse mark. So, in all honesty, it might be a combination of the curse mark and his decision to leave the Leaf Village. But just to me, the way the scene is set up, it just seems that his decision to abandon the Leaf and cut his ties with Naruto is the reason why the third Tomoe manifests. So, for the sake of conversation and the video, let's just say that that's the case. So, in short, this will be Neji that fought against Kidomaru versus the two Tomoe Sharingan with the Curse Mark and Curse Mark 2 still available. Now, the other main aspect of this fight is where exactly Neji scales to. So this is where people might differ, and if you disagree, that's totally fine, but it's just what I've been able to come up with and what I think. Now, we know that during the Chunin Exams, it's basically said that Lee and Neji are rivals up to the fourth gate, maybe even third if you highball it. Neji still rivals Lee. Case in point, when Lee took his weights off to fight Garra, Neji isn't even reacting at all to his incredible speed. In fact, he's just casually watching the fight. It isn't until Neji pulls out the fifth gate and uses the Hidden Lotus that Neji starts to look at Lee like he's a completely different person, implying that Neji hasn't seen Lee use up to the fifth gate, but you could make an argument that Lee still surpasses Neji at the third or fourth gate. So at bare minimum, Chunin Exams Neji is on par with third gate Lee. Now, of course, Neji went on to lose to KM0 Naruto, but a stronger Neji later went on to beat Kidomaru, who, while beating him at an area of fighting that Neji is the weakest at, which is of course long range, Neji states that Kidomaru is still the strongest opponent he's ever fought, which means Neji at this point is stronger than the KM0 Naruto that he fought in the Chunin Exams. Now you're probably asking, how does this apply to Neji? Well, if we go by the scaling of part 2 for a second, Keep in mind that Neji is the only one of the Konoha 11 to make it to Jonin, including Lee. Now, of course, that said, I'm not saying that that means that Neji is stronger than Shippuden 5th Gate Lee, but it should at least be a sign that he still rivals base Lee, or maybe even still 3rd Gate Lee in Shippuden. So if we rewind to the rescue arc, we see that KM0 Naruto wasn't able to do a thing to Kidomaru, even with all of his shadow clones. And yet, a base Lee who just got out of surgery was able to do more to Kidomaru and perform better against Kidomaru even before the Drunken Fist, which puts base Lee at bare minimum lowballing him at KM0 Naruto level. It is implied in the first data book that Lee is stronger here than he had been before, even after surgery. And there is a line in the manga in the same Kidomaru fight that kind of may contradict it, where Lee says he's just got out of the hospital, so he can't do anything too crazy. So you could make the implication that he means that he's not at 100%. So even if you want to say that Lee is at like 80%, at his top condition right now, if we follow the narrative and say that this Neji, who is again stronger than he was during the Chunin exams, is still on that level or even stronger than base Lee, then that also means at bare minimum, it puts Neji on that the bare minimum of KM0 Naruto. And this same KM0 Naruto went on to pretty much handle a 2 Tomoe Sharingan Sasuke. Now, obviously, there's a bit more to it than that. For example, you could say that the specific form of KM0 that fought Sasuke was a little bit stronger due to the situation of having to fight Sasuke. But first, the emotion of trying to save Sasuke was still present in the Kidomaru fight. So in all honesty, if there is a difference in power, it can't be too much in between one another. Now, speed and reaction time is something that I'll need to get into as well, because that also might make a difference in this fight. In terms of travel speed, like I said earlier, it's a bit hard for me to say how much faster Sasuke's gotten in his base form from the Chunin exams to after he awakens from the curse mark coffin. Best I can say, in my opinion, is that he at least is slightly faster than he was during the Chunin exams. Now, if that is the case, again, I'm saying if that is the case, the Neji should be able to keep pace and handle Sasuke's speed here, at least before he gets into the curse mark stages, which we'll get into that later. Going on to combat speed, now this is where I think Neji will have the advantage, not like a substantial one, mind you, as Sasuke is still, good with throwing hands. Heck, even in the first bell test, Sasuke's taijutsu was slightly pressing a suppressed Kakashi. And to be honest, I think the main thing that is making me put Neji slightly above Sasuke in this is the fact that Neji, and by extension the whole Hyuga clan, are pretty much bred to be close quarters fighters. Like they are bred to specialize in close quarters. Even Kidomaru in his second state still made it a point to avoid Neji in close quarters despite Neji being almost dead. The second reason for putting Neji above this Sasuke in terms of combat speed is again the fact that he only has 2 Tomoe. If we put Neji's combat speed either on par or slightly below KM0 Naruto that fought 2 Tomoe Sharingan Sasuke, then I feel like Neji, who has a visual perception, should be able to perform similar. Now, which brings me to the precog of both the Sharingan and the Byakugan. Now, obviously, the Sharingan is the one that's most known for having the best precog and battle perception. However, I think most people tend to either forget or overlook that the Byakugan also has visual perception and precog of its own, as stated by Tenten in the Chunin exams, saying with his 360-degree vision, with the same all-seeing eye, Neji can anticipate all of his opponent's attacks. Now, on that note, there is a couple things to address. One, you could argue that the statement isn't 100% credible since it's a statement coming from part 1, which unfortunately has the bad reputation of being retconned more so than Shippuden. But also, since it's coming from Tenten, who we all know isn't necessarily the best source of information, it may not be credible as well. But I mean, she is Neji's teammate, and she's been on his team for quite a while at this point, so I think it's fair to assume she at least knows what she's talking about here. And like I said, the Sharingan is still known for having the better visual perception and precog, so even if the statement is true, which I believe it is, Sasuke should have a slightly better precog than the Byakugan. The next thing I want to cover is continuity. If we are in fact doing this in chronological case, then Neji will not be fighting with killer intent, as this is a mission. Like, they're supposed to bring Sasuke back. Now, while you could say that might not make much of a difference, it actually might. Because depending on Sasuke's attitude, if Neji holds back by any means, he might be cooked early on. Now, I'm not 100% sure on how Sasuke's attitude would be at this point in terms of killer intent. Like, I would say that if it meant getting to Orochimaru in order to gain power, he might be willing to kill anyone who got in his way. But, I mean, he did, like, second guess himself when it came to killing Naruto, so maybe? Now, obviously, he's a lot closer to Naruto than Neji, but even heavy Sasuke had a no-killing code about him, so who knows? For right now, let's just say the gloves are on for both combatants. If that is the case, then to be honest, I think Sasuke wins. Because even if we say that these two are relative in terms of speed and battle combat speed, and with Sasuke still being physically stronger, Sasuke's going to be able to at least put up a fight with Neji. Especially if he knows anything about how the Hyuga fights. Like, you know, if he got in from Kakashi during their training in the Chunin Exams, that he might be a little more cautious when fighting Neji. You know, possibly playing the range game, shooting off fireball attacks from a distance as a way of making Neji have to use rotation to drain his chakra. Now, that being said, Neji doesn't have to use the rotation, as he could just dodge it, but with Sasuke's speed, he might be too quick to at least make Neji force to use the rotation. Although, again, having said that, with the 360-degree vision and the precog of his own, it's also arguable that he still may not need to use rotation, as he can possibly dodge it. Now, for the sake of conversation, let's just say it gets down to the worst case scenario for Sasuke, and Neji is able to close a distance and use 64 palms or 128 palms. With this being without killer intent, all Neji can do is just aim to shut Sasuke's chakra network down by blocking his chakra points. And assuming this is Sasuke in his base, the problem there then is that Sasuke can possibly override the blocked chakra points by just entering Curse Mark 1 or 2. And yes, this is all assuming Sasuke wouldn't just go straight into Curse Mark 2 till the end of the fight right away. But Sasuke does say he was a bit reluctant to use it during this fight with Naruto because he wasn't sure what would happen to him, as he hasn't even used it yet. But just like with the one-tailed Naruto pressing him, if Neji shut down his chakra network, it might prompt Sasuke to go ahead and just use CS2. And honestly, depending on how far the fight has gotten by this point and how much chakra Neji has had to use, he might be cooked, because I don't think he'd be able to handle CS2 Sasuke even with him having just 2 Tomoe. Even if Neji could still use the rotation, it won't matter against Onyx Chidori, or maybe even a regular Chidori, as Neji wasn't even able to overpower an attack from a weaker Nine-Tails Naruto. A regular Chidori could be argued, but I'm sure an Onyx Chidori should be able to penetrate. Even if this is a Sasuke with fighting with restraint, he doesn't have to aim for Neji's heart to take the win. He could just aim for his shoulder or something like that, and I'm sure Neji would be down for the count. Now, let's rewind real quick and say that the gloves are off for both fighters, and again, let's go with the worst case scenario and say Neji is able to, at some point, close the distance and hit Sasuke with 64 or 128 palms. Instead of just aiming to shut down Sasuke's chakra network, he could also aim to do serious damage to his vital organs, like his heart, for example, similar to his fight with Hinata in the Chunin Exams. If that is the case, then if that does happen, Sasuke is done for, because not even using the curse mark can heal damage to a vital organ, especially the heart. Now, whether or not Neji can close the distance is up for debate, but since this is a base Sasuke with 2 Tomoe, who at best is slightly faster than he was during the Chunin Exams, I'd say there's good call for it. That being said, with Sasuke's cunning and intellect, I could conversely see him being able to play the defense and range game and just shoot long-range attacks to make Neji try to expend his chakra and hit him with Chidori. And again, there's at least a decent chance that even if he uses rotation, a regular Chidori should be able to penetrate. So Sasuke might not even need to use long-range attacks against something like rotation. Bottom line, if it's with restraint and the gloves are on, I think Sasuke wins 7 out of 10 times. If it's fighting with restraint and the gloves are off, I think it's 50-50 and could go either way. But if I had to give it to someone, I'd say Sasuke would have a slight advantage, so I'd probably give it to Sasuke like 6 out of 10 times. Now, having said all this, even though I gave Sasuke the win in both scenarios, I do understand that there will probably be people that think I'm not giving Sasuke enough credit and that I'm just gassing Neji up. And I mean, that's fine. I get it. You know, maybe I'm underestimating Sasuke even with 2 Tomoe. Like, maybe he's just still so broken that Neji doesn't stand a chance. But I just think that with Neji's skill and intellect and the difference that we saw between 2 Tomoe and 3 Tomoe, I feel like there's just good call to say that Neji has at least a decent shot if it's without restraint. Obviously, if it's with restraint, then Neji has a little bit less of a chance. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to know my opinions on Chunin Exams Neji and Chunin Exams Sasuke, I'll go ahead and cover it since I'm already talking about it. And just for the sake of y'all, I'll also talk about how Naruto would do in the reverse fights. So, when it comes to Sasuke versus Neji in the Chunin Exams, I'll be honest, I think Neji would probably have more of the advantage. Because all Sasuke would have is his Lee speed and Chidori. While Chidori, the latter, is obviously the more standout because, like I said, it's really up for debate whether or not Chidori could actually penetrate rotation, which I do believe it could, but it's really arguable if the fight would even get that far, especially if Sasuke, reserves Chidori, for a last-ditch plan, kind of similar to what he did against Garra. Then if Sasuke tries to fight Neji in close quarters, he might get cooked. Now, that's all assuming that Kakashi wouldn't have told Sasuke about how Neji fights, which I'm sure he did. So Sasuke would probably be aware of what to look out for, so unlike Naruto, he won't just recklessly go in and charge at Neji. All that said, I still think that at the end of the day, Neji just has more of the advantage to win this fight, or at least outlast Sasuke in this fight. So I'll probably have to give this one to Neji more often than not. Now, if we're doing this in the role reversal for Naruto, since we're already talking about the Chunin Exams, let's start with Naruto versus Garra in the Chunin Exams. And again, since this is in the Chunin Exams stadium, that means the Shukaku summon and the Gamabunta summon are pretty much taken off the field. Like, I think that goes without saying. So in the confines of the Chunin Exams final round, I don't think Naruto has much of the advantage here. Like, obviously in base, he's already getting cooked by Garra. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, Naruto was already doing not so great at the beginning fights in the forest anyway, but his best chance would be to tap into the Nine Tails power. I just don't know if Naruto would last long enough within the confines of the Chunin Exams tournament. Like, I feel like Garra is still just too strong for him, too durable, and the sand alone, I mean, he was already going to get crushed by Sand Coffin anyway if he didn't summon Gamabunta. So, and that was before he used any of his Nine Tails chakras. So I think Garra would probably win against Naruto in this fight personally. So now we'll move on to Kidomaru. Kidomaru is unfortunately probably just too tough an opponent for Naruto to fight. Like, and this kind of is backed up by a later statement from Kakashi and Shippuden when they're about to fight Deidara. He literally tells Naruto, this is like the worst opponent for you because you're a close range fighter, he's a long range fighter, he's your worst enemy. Similar with Kidomaru, Kidomaru was a long range fighter. He already gave Neji a time and a half on his own. So, and Neji, again, was the only one that could realistically deal with Kidomaru's webs. Like, Naruto had no answers for that alone. So that's not even getting into all the spiders that he had, all the kunais he was throwing at a distance, to which, again, only Neji could predict and avoid those attacks with his 360-degree vision. And so even with all the clones, I think Naruto would be just overwhelmed by Kidomaru. And again, that's not even getting into his summons or his Curse Mark 2 state. So, I mean, the best thing I could say for Naruto is that if Kurama does what he did against Sasuke, and let's say Kidomaru gets a killing shot on Naruto, then, if Kurama wants to, he can be like, all right, well, I got no choice. I got to let you use the one tail. And at that point, I don't think Kidomaru's got anything. So more often than not, Kidomaru's got it. I think like a, 8 out of 10. But if Naruto does tap into the one tail, Kidomaru's cooked. So that's it for the video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know down in the comments if you agree or don't disagree. Thank you all for watching all the way to the end. If you have, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click the bell for more notifications. Thank you all so much. I hope to provide y'all more content in the future. Until my next one, Lightning Snow out.